Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Dr. to Doctor in the Chat Room. We are so happy to have you guys here with us sharing this hour as you do every Saturday. We are well into a new year, and I am so grateful to God for his grace and mercy and his guidance and just allowing me another opportunity for you guys to hear my voice. Thank you, God, for that. And thank God for the best radio audience on EARF Earth. Thank you guys for coming back every week to share with us in this hour on the Gospel Giant 94.7, our family. We thank you so much.
Cramp a little bit, my
Oh my goodness. And we already hear our guests in the background. We thank you for your support, and we look forward to this year with you. And as my grandma Wilner used to say, if the Lord says the same, we look forward to another good year with you guys. So thank you. Great afternoon to my co-host, Dr. West.
Dr. West
in the building. John would say, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I was just laughing at our guest checking his hair out in the camera, making sure everything is everything.
I mean. Help us, Lord. Help us. I can't even really convey my excitement about our show today, because it's always a fun show. It's always a show full of wisdom and knowledge when we have our special guest on. So we're going to hear from him in a moment. But before we do, as always, we just remind you guys to stay safe. You know, use those precautions to stay safe. We know the numbers are going up with this new variant, but you know, we know you guys want to enjoy family and friends, and all you have to do is just, you know, wear those masks and you know, wash those hands and try to, you know, physically distance as much as you can, and try to avoid those large crowds if you can, and get those vaccines and those booster vaccines if you can.
Yes, just enjoy your friends and family, but do it responsibly.
Yeah. So as I said, when we have this guest on, and we've had him on so many times, you know, it's always a show that's filled with lots of knowledge and fun and great information and wisdom. So let's just go ahead and introduce him, because he's so antsy. Okay. So let's just introduce you guys to the Mr. Reverend Pastor, State Representative Brother John, my daddy, yo. Woo! Mr. Johnny Shaw. Hey, daddy.
Hey, what can I say?
And speaking of wisdom, he just celebrated a true milestone of a birthday. Yeah. And I'm so thankful to God to, you know, to have you here.
Are you going to be talk?
In a minute.
Oh, I can't.
Seemingly, you are in like the best part of your life at this milestone. And all I can say is, man, it ain't no daddy like the daddy I got. Look, I just bought a t-shirt that says that. I should have brought it so y'all can see it today. Ain't no daddy like the daddy I got. God has truly blessed you.
I need that.
You make 80 look amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Woo! I mean, that's not even just saying it for compliment's sake. Like, no, that's the truth.
He almost looks really as good as me. Almost.
I think he might even say he looks better if you give him a chance.
He's gonna say it when he gets to talk. Let's let him talk. Let's take this muzzle off. Go ahead, Danny.
It was a nice show. Thank y'all for having me on. No, I'm glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me. Really, I'm honored to be here, and it is a milestone. It's, you know, it's life. It's living life. And let me start. Here's how I want to start today. Thank you for having me on. Thank both of you. I really admire both of you for what you do, the work you do, and the heart that you put into this. But here's how I view life. I'm going to give you this before you ask me any questions. Mm-hmm. I view life like this, that there are two toolboxes that sit before me every morning. Mm-hmm. One of them, God gave it to me, and God put everything in that toolbox that I needed for that day. Mm-hmm. There's a wrench in there for depression. Mm. There's a wrench in there for people who don't like me or think they don't like me. There's a ranch in there for challenges I face. There's a ranch in there for any problem I might have. There's a ranch in that toolbox that God gave me.
Wow.
Over here is a toolbox that I prepared.
Okay.
And I put everything in that toolbox I thought I would ever need. But I left something out. Always, when it get to the ranch I really need in my toolbox, I can't find it.
But back over here.
But back over here,
That daily bread.
that daily bread.
Whoa, you better preach,
There
Daddy.
is a ranch in there for everything I need. So I choose every morning when I get up to use this toolbox
Wow.
rather than using mine.
I think
Yeah.
that helped us. I think really.
And really, honestly, it's very simple. Now, here's what I would tell you. It's a challenge to get there. You don't get there like overnight. I mean, it's a challenge to be able to love anybody that won't love you back. That's a challenge. I mean, I won't lie to you. That's a challenge. That's not easy. But I also tell people that you have to choose when you go to the library what books you're going to read. You want to pick the bestseller, and the bestseller is the Bible. Even if you don't agree, not necessarily agree, but even if you don't do everything in there, when you read it, you get wisdom to help you understand what life is. God never wanted any of us to do anything but enjoy life. He said, I come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly.
It's amazing because Dr. Shaw literally just told me that this morning. I'm not even joking. Like we had that conversation.
Yeah.
Wow. Did y'all have this conversation? I know you did. I know you did. I know you did. Okay.
But you know, and something that he said is a great segue into something that I was going to ask, but I really, really want to save it for later, and I won't forget it because I made myself some notes. But I want to start with, what's the secret? Like, is there a potion you drink every day? You know,
get up and drink some water.
You've made it look so easy. Now I'm speaking from who you are as a person. I'm speaking about like your inner being. I'm speaking about your outer being, because you know you're my daddy, and I may be biased in one way, but I done heard enough other folks say it too. You're a really handsome man, and you dress well, you carry yourself well. What do you do? What's the secret? Like, is there a secret? Like, if somebody said, "What's your secret?" Oh, you look so great. What would you say?
Well, this week I've had both sides. I had a guy yesterday to literally argue with me and said to me, "You lying. You pulling some prank. You're not that old." I mean, seriously, you got something in mind that you're doing, that you using this for that. And then I've had others ask me the same thing. I think the secret is what I just said, is not to clutter your mind. First of all, now look, guys, I know we think we can, and we are all prone to try to figure people out. All of us. I've done that. Wonder what's wrong with them. They acting like that. I wonder why they doing that. I discovered a secret. You can only manage your life, and that is with the help of God. You can't even do a good job without the help of God managing your own life. So in this mind that God gave me and gave you, don't figure nobody out but you. Nobody but you. It don't tell you nothing about anybody else. It tells you what your eyes see, and you try to assume what you think you know. But you can't figure nobody else out but you. And if you don't be honest with yourself, you can't even figure yourself out, because God will only bless the real you, not the fake you. He'll only bless the real you.
Yeah. So there's a reason, and we didn't talk about it when we started, Dr. West or I, either one. There's a reason we had you on today. We had you on today because of this milestone, and I've had you on in the past, and I've asked you about your career, and you know, you've You've done all of these great things. You've been appointed to all these great things. You've gotten all these great awards, and you've been in radio for all of these years. And I just feel like when somebody gets to this point in life, to have had the humble beginnings that you had, right? I just think it's a good idea to have a conversation with a person like that. And I really mean that. Like, you know, I regret so much. I had a lot of conversations with both of my grandmothers that I was blessed to grow up around. But I wasn't of the mindset of, you know, knowing the importance of really sitting down, getting all I could, as they say, and getting all you can and can all you get. I wasn't in that mindset. And so now I have this opportunity to talk to somebody that's pretty much done it all. I mean, you've done it all, and you did it like with nothing, like from nothing. You know, people see where you a person, anybody. When I say you are, I mean in general. People see where people are, but they rarely see the struggles and the challenges and all of that came with, you know, getting there. So I would love to hear, and I believe that my cousin, sister, and Dr. West may have asked you this the other night, and I heard the ending of this. What have been some of your greatest lessons learned in life?
Lessons from other people. I look at what they say, how they act, and what they do, and I decide, do I want to be like that, or do I want to be different? But more than that, lessons actually from God. I mean, because there again, life more abundantly. Be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. So if I'm living in a world and my Savior tells me he has overcame it, why do I need to be struggling? I mean, that's what he just told me.
Yeah, you make it sound simple, but yeah.
But it is. I mean, it's there are no real dark, deep secrets other than the challenge of you. I read something, I've read it a lot of times. At one time I was reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, a time to love and a time to hate. I got the loving part, but couldn't figure out when was a time to hate. To hate? Is that what you're telling me, Solomon? Okay. But a time to hate is based upon what you hate, not what somebody else hates. It's a time to hate wrongdoing. It's time to hate sin. It's time to hate child abuse. It's a time to hate that when you love God. But Solomon wouldn't say it's a time for me to hate Nicole or to hate you.
Right.
It's a time for me to hate stuff that harms you. And that helped open my mind a lot. So, okay, I understand that now. So that means this is about me. Basically, everything in life, and I know what you asked, I'm not getting away from the question you asked me, but everything in life is about me and not about someone else. And I remember Ralph Clenning. I often call Ralph's name. Ralph hired me. He was the first guy that hired me in radio. And Ralph didn't say it like I'm saying it now, but this is how I took it then and how I take it now. Ralph asked me, said, "You see the microphone, JW?" And I said, yes. He said, "Don't you ever try to be anybody behind that mic but you. Because if you do, you won't be behind the mic, and the person you try to be won't be behind the mic.
Because you can't be anybody else.
You can't be anybody else."
Yeah.
But those kind of lessons that I learned from, and I apply them not only to simple rules of life, but even challenging rules of life. And so now it's just the longer you do it, the easier it gets.
I can see that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So you start, I've been working at this for a long time, 40 years long. And now it's easier than it was, but it's still a challenge because some days, even though I chose this toolbox, I forget I picked it up. And I have to say, whoa, wait.
Yeah.
You're getting off balance again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I try to tell my colleagues this in the legislature, but they think this is old-fashioned stuff.
Mhm.
They'd rather argue.
Mhm.
And the madder you make someone that you're arguing with, the worse things get. If I ask you for something and you say, no, I'm not going to let you have it, I keep arguing with you, you get more angry.
Mhm.
If it's
Yeah.
okay, but if you could help me with that, it sure would help me do this and just go on. It gives you something to think about.
Mhm.
So it's psychology. It's what it is.
A reverse.
A reverse.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Because- Oh, excuse me, but I always say something else, and maybe I shouldn't say this on this program, but I'm going to say it. If when the virus started, if we had told Black people, you can't get a vaccine, we'd have burned every city down in the world.
Right. Right. Wow. I've never even thought about it that way, but you are absolutely
Memphis would be a ground zero if we had told
right.
every Black person, and I mean this in a good way, I don't mean it's better, we'd have said everybody can get a vaccine but Black people.
Except
We'd have burned every city in the country down.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah. But we
Wow.
told them you need to get one. And they said, I'm not going to do that because the government's putting some kind of chip in me.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because we always find somebody else's excuse to validate or to at least confirm what we do.
Mhm.
If I'm not treating you right, I find some excuse for not treating you right.
Mhm.
Always. If I'm treating you cool, ain't talking to you, won't speak to, well, I don't speak to her because she just thinks she's something.
Mhm.
It's just, yeah.
You know, that toolbox thing is really interesting because, think about the times that I'm really thinking, I mean, all of us, but I'm really thinking about Dr. West and I, that we might have, started our work days thinking, all right, today I'm gonna be ready, right?
Yeah.
I'm going, because it was my toolbox. And
Yeah.
what I,
Right.
Yeah.
but
And I done prepared it. I got everything you need.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there were times when we did,
The rest
and for
didn't
whatever,
fit.
well, and maybe we didn't, but God maybe just had it
Yeah.
such that we didn't even do it for whatever the reason,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We didn't even do it. Like we ended up in this other toolbox. We ended up going the godly way, you know what I'm saying? Just by
Yeah.
default or whatever. And how things worked out so much better because
Right.
you thought you was gonna get them told and
Yeah. And maybe even I was using my wrench and I'm, trying to get this thing open and can't do it. And then
Yeah.
I go to the God toolbox and it just opens right up.
as he said, it wouldn't work. Mine wouldn't even work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Won't even fit the nut. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's
Makes
it.
a whole lot of sense. Well, we're talking to State Representative Pastor Johnny Shaw. We're talking to him for a
How much
reason.
y'all pay for this, by
today.
the way? Do
We
y'all
have
pay?
nothing, sir.
You
We
don't
have
pay?
absolutely nothing, okay?
We want to
Matter
talk
of
to
fact,
you
we
about
try-
that.
Matter of fact, we try to borrow some money.
Oh.
So we will
Right.
talk about that on break. We will be right back on 94.7 FM. And we're back on 94.7 FM. We are here with my daddy, y'all, State Representative Johnny Shaw. So like I said, I've had you on the show before, and you talked about growing up and how you were a dreamer.
Mhm.
And I just wonder, did you ever imagine that this would be your life? That you would have the level of success, even though you dreamed big,
Yeah.
and all of that. Did you ever imagine you would be here?
No, I did not. I mean, what I'm doing, I never dreamed about it. I never thought I'd be a politician or a preacher for that matter. I always dreamed of having a trucking company, a
Okay.
grocery store. I did dream about a funeral home, but I got in that business, stayed about
And I was
About
so
6
glad you got
months.
out of that. Woo, my life was not
Yeah.
good. Okay.
but I mean, but I dreamed. I knew I wanted to do something.
Mhm.
And I think I told this story before, when I first got into the radio business this last time, the FM, not the first time, it really began on the thought and the prayer because I didn't really have the money I needed. But here's what I said to God. I said, and I really, and by the way, when you pray, you really can talk to God just like you talk to anybody else. You ain't got to do all that fancy stuff. Trust me. So one morning I'm driving to
You
the
don't,
radio
wait a minute, you
station.
don't have to be knee bowed and body.
No,
bent
you don't
like
have
it's
to be
gonna do
knee bowed and body
Okay,
bowed, or
okay.
whatever it is. No, you can just talk to God just like you're talking to a
Uh-huh.
brother, sister, or whatever.
Right.
And I was on my way to work that morning about 4 o'clock, and I said, Lord, you know what? I just searched this dial. I was turning the knob, and I can find something about everything in the world on these dials but you.
Mhm,
If you give me a radio station, I'll make sure you're represented every day.
mhm.
Wow.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Mhm.
End of the story. Here we are. Because when I started, I needed $30,000 extra for collateral. But I mean, it all worked out. So I just think when you're serious with God and God knows you will keep your promise to him, it's what you say you'll do. He will do some things that nobody would ever even dream of. And most people will make it sound like they were so spiritual. God did it for me because I was living so spiritual and I was speaking in tongues. And no. I wasn't even living like I needed to live.
Mhm.
But the truth of the matter was, I promised God that I would represent his name if he would give me that radio station. So now when I go to work, I don't go to work. I go to do a ministry.
Mhm.
There's a difference. I go to provide a service. And when you are providing a service for people in what you do, you can love that. You'll never love a job.
Mm.
Nobody don't want to love no job. No, you don't go to work. But I love what I do because everything I do, I think about servitude. Legislature, on the air, if I'm preaching or whatever, I'm providing a service. And so I enjoy what I do.
You messing
That
with-
Now, what did I do with
you
your
mess-
question?
You just messing with them.
Oh,
Just
messing
hush.
with your questions.
Just hush,
Okay.
that's enough.
that actually answered a question that I was thinking about. Like, what is it that keeps you going at 80? Because a lot of us are like, oh, I can't wait to retire. As soon as I turn 65, I'm going to Florida and I'm never working again and blah, blah, blah. But then there's Dr. Shaw, I'm gonna be there with you. But then there's other people that just want to keep going. And I guess that's what
Because
it
it's
is.
a service, yeah, and I get energized from helping people, whether it's a mom who need to get on TennCare, whether it's somebody who need to get that birth certificate, or
Yeah.
someone who just need to know something about a law that was passed, or some mom, and I get a lot of calls from moms who have young men incarcerated. That's a big thing, you know, and they don't understand always why their son is incarcerated. Like the lady they call and say, my son just drove the car, the other boys robbed the store.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
she uneducated about how the system works. So
Mhm.
whatever it is, just whatever you do, to me, it's a ministry, it's a service. It ain't about a job. So you can call me day or night, whenever. I'm energized from helping people.
Yeah.
So open door policy is like, it's in real time and real life with this man.
Yeah.
So servitude is truly the word of the day.
Right.
Like that's truly what keeps him going. It really,
Yeah.
he thrives
Yeah.
off of servitude.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I really do.
And when he says you call him day or night, you know, people always say certain things, you know, they throw things out there. But
Yeah.
I truly believe that
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
absolutely mean that. I mean,
Yes.
I really
Yeah.
do.
And I get calls that I can't do anything about at the moment because it is the weekend. If you call me Sunday, I can't do anything about government on Sunday.
Yeah.
But, you know, and it's really best to wait and call me Monday. But if you feel a need to call me Sunday, you know,
Mhm.
and I'll tell you, I'll look into it Monday, whatever. But that's it.
One of the traits that you have that's always been highlighted to me
Excuse me.
is how you allow, and this is just for the lack of a better word, but drama, chaos, and
Mhm.
mess, as we call it,
Yeah.
it just rolls off like water off a duck's back, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the things that one of the many things, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that I admire most about you, and that I have really tried to emulate in my life. Okay. Now I have to really practice it.
Mhm.
But I know for you, it's really organic. Like you do it naturally. How? I want to know how. I never asked how, I just tried to emulate it. Now I want to know how. I'm gonna get the secret and I'm gonna just get up every day and I'm gonna do it.
So knowledge, okay.
Hold on, let me get my pen. So I need to take some notes.
Well, that's no top secret. Knowledge is power. Okay. When you learn the things we just talked about, I can't control anybody else's life. I can't control what they're thinking. I can't control what they're saying. I can't control how they're acting. So why would I spend my time diving in a lake that I can't swim in? I mean, why don't I just go ahead and ignore that? Because I realize that is something that could affect me if I dive into it. Did I ever say this to you guys? I've been on the show before. You become the first 2 or 3, or at least 5 people you're around is who you become like. Either they become like you or you become like them. And so I try my best to be around people that are positive rather than people that are negative. So when I meet negative people, I can very easily shun that. My dad, I'll tell you what my granddaddy said. He said, son, going across the field, I'm walking in his footstep in the plowed ground. And he stops and says to me, if you're going to be like me, you've got to know one thing. You got to know who you are. I named you Johnny Shaw. And if anybody ever called you anything other than Johnny Shaw, don't you answer. Now, I know why he told me that. He told me that because of the racial piece. Sure. If they call me something else, don't answer. But that was the best advice I ever got. And so now you're talking about pushing things off or rolling things away. That's not me. You ain't talking to me. You're talking to me, but you're not talking to me.
Wow. Yeah.
Because that's not me. I'm the superhero over here. I don't do that. I don't act like that. So why should I spend my time buying into something that I'm not?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's wisdom now. That's wisdom. That comes with wisdom. So you got to understand, I could spend my time doing that. Either I can go about my business and spend my time buying into something that I do like and love.
Well, one thing I can say, the more we practice anything, right, the better we get at it. So,
that's how righteousness come out of practice.
Right. Yeah. And so what I'm learning is like, it's becoming more natural, like more of a natural occurrence for me now. Because I purposely started, I was intentional about practicing it. Now, this may be a little of an extension of the conversation we're already having, but how do you manage people so well? You manage people like, I mean, it can be whether it's in your political arena, it can be under, being a pastor. It's just in life in general. I mean, things are going on. There are like all these moving pieces around you all the time. There's chaos over here. There's good stuff over here. There's this over there. But you're balancing. You're doing this balancing act, and you're managing things and people all the time. How do you do it? It's like a mental multitask.
Well, first of all, you treat people as a whole like you would like to be treated. That's simple. When someone come to you, I had some people come to me with some situations this week I won't get into, but you let them talk first of all. You just let them express themselves, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. And then you compile questions while they talk. And you start asking questions. Well, how can we do that if we're going to continue to do this, et cetera? That's just an example. And this was about states and having the constitutional rights, states breaking off from the United States. So I let them finish talking. Then I said, well, okay, if the state budget is $43 billion and 45% of it is federal money, how are we going to survive if we break off from the state? You start challenging them and they start thinking, okay. So I'm saying, okay, my next question is, we have a voting rights bill up in Washington. How do we educate people about their rights before we educate them about voting? Okay, these are questions I'm asking. And so after asking these questions, give him something to think about. So you go away and you think about that and come back and let's talk again. Okay. So I think you manage people by simply treating them like you would want to be treated. You don't look down on them because they got an issue that you know won't work.
Right. And I remember you saying something at your birthday party the other day that stuck with me, and it was treating each individual like an individual, and as their question or their issue was as important to you as it was to them.
Yes.
Just, I mean, it's so simple, but it's not something that everybody does.
If you call me, whatever you calling me about is interesting to you. Now, I may think, what would they call me about that? But to you, it's interesting because that's why you called me. So I need to make you feel like I'm accepting it in that way.
Yeah.
That's very important. Yeah.
Because so many times I think, you know, when you're in a profession for a long time, you kind of become jaded, or you become,
of course you do.
Desensitized. And so people's issues don't feel as important to you anymore because you've heard it all before a million times. But to that individual, that's my child or my family or my livelihood. And so I guess you gotta stay fresh and remember to treat people like you want to be treated.
Yeah, like you want to be treated. If I had a son, a daughter, and she is in trouble and I call you about helping her, I don't want you to put her down.
Right.
I mean, I want you to tell me what you can do for her. Either tell me I can't do anything for her, but don't put her down. And that is so important because so many people, and people will say to me all the time, I feel like I can come talk to you. That's the way I want you to feel because you can. Now, at the end of the day, the mom that said my son didn't rob the store, he just drove the car. Her son was as guilty as the other boys. But I didn't need to make her feel bad. I needed to explain to her why he was as guilty as the other boys.
In the eyes of the law.
Yeah, in the eyes of the law. Yeah. I just left the meeting this evening. Some people wanted to break the law. I couldn't agree to that.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question about being in politics and what that has been like for you for all of these years. You know, because historically, you know, Black people don't typically trust the government and our leaders, and you know that they're going to do what they say they're going to do for us. So what has your experience been like all of these years, and in the South too, as a politician?
Well, it's been a learning tool for one thing, but it's been good because once you get to know your constituents, you're going to have, now trust me, heritage has lots to do with how people act and are treated in politics.
Yeah.
Now, I need to be careful to say this, but most people of color just want you to show up when you need to show up, return phone calls that you need to return. They really don't have a whole lot of questions. Some of them do, but not many, not very small percentage of people of color who have political questions that they want me to answer. Okay, but just show up and answer the phone.
Show up to different events or
friendly event. If I'm invited to whatever, just be there. Okay, show yourself, smile, shake some hands, whatever. White people are a little different, and most of their concerns has to do with conservative issues. And when I say conservative issues, if it's about helping somebody else, they really don't want you to do anything but just make sure that tax dollar.
Right.
Fix the road, put it in education, that type of thing. So
it's a good use.
Good use
in their eyes.
In their eyes. I mean, but and even on the spiritual side, they see that spiritual side even a little different in that they believe that if you're gay, you ain't going to heaven. They don't believe Jesus can love you. Okay. And so you learn from constituencies in a way a lot how to conduct yourself and mostly what to do. But most of all, just being honest with people. Don't ever lie. If you can't agree with them, just say, I'm sorry, I respect you, but I can't agree with you. They like that about as well. All of them is anything. They'll say, well, one thing about him, he'll be truthful, but he won't lie to you. But don't tell them one thing and then go vote another way.
Now I can say without a doubt, having spent so much time around you in Nashville and your colleagues across the aisle, I mean, I've just always felt like you're as much respected by, the other side of the aisle as you are, by your own.
Because I don't lie to them and I don't get mad at them because I disagree with them. I don't agree with you, but I'm not angry.
And I think when you talk about like, you're gay, you're not going to heaven, I think you're speaking of like those far right, evangelicals that, really take it like, that consider themselves.
They're still in Old
Christian,
Testament.
Yes.
Still in
That's
Old
why,
Testament.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
They still believe in the stoning.
Stone him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like John 8, Jesus said, they said, we caught this woman in adultery, but nobody ever said who was in adultery with her, but we caught it in adultery. Yeah. So she needs to be stoned, Jesus says, well, okay, anybody can do that. Go ahead and pick up a rock and stone her,
Okay, we're not stoning anybody, but we're going to break it. We will be right back on 94.7 FM. And we thank you for sticking around on 94.7 FM. We are here with Representative Johnny Shaw, Dr. West, and we're having a great conversation. Just still celebrating this awesome milestone with Representative Shaw.
Can I tell you a joke?
Okay.
I told Undertaker the other day, I said, when y'all pick me up, all y'all gonna have battery operated hearses.
How long it's gonna be?
Yeah. You know how long it's gonna take the fuel home to get a battery operated? Okay.
Y'all were just clowning over there.
Okay.
I wish the people on the radio could see this. I mean, the two of you together, just having the best time. Okay. I love watching it. I do. It's beautiful.
And by the way, hello, Dad and Mom. Your dad and Mom. I bet you they listening, aren't they?
Yes, they sure are. They sure are.
Hope y'all doing well.
So what do you want your legacy to be?
That I served. Simply, that I served. And that I never turned down an opportunity to serve. That's what I want my legacy. I don't want a lot of drawn out things. I don't really want a traditional funeral. I'll probably get one because y'all probably ain't gonna do it no other way, but I really don't want one. I just want it to be a celebration.
What have I always told you? You don't want it. We don't have to spend a whole lot.
Well, I just want to celebrate. Really, I just want celebration. I just want everybody to celebrate and say, hey, this was a great guy. Hey, man, okay, farewell. Nobody crying and carrying on. Just because,
Celebrate your life.
Celebrate my life. Yeah.
What would you have done differently this far when you think back in retrospect? There have to be some things that you say, hey, if I could do that all over again, I'd probably change this.
I'm sure it is. I'm not sure I know exactly what that is, but I'm sure it is. There are moments, but then.
So you no, just playing.
These two, I tell you.
But no, I'm sure it is. I probably would have. I don't know if I could just think of anything right off, but I'm sure there are a lot of things that when I got to them, I probably would say if I could have do this again, I'd do it a different way. But the outcome has been good. I never failed at anything. I just did not accomplish the goals that I set out. But everything I've ever worked at, it turned out good in some ways, and I always feel like if it didn't turn out, it was God knew I didn't need to do that or to go down that road. I did run for leader of the Democratic caucus and lost, but I see now why I lost, because if I was trapped in that position, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now.
Okay.
I mean, once you get in those kind of positions, you kind of got to walk the chalk and do what people say. But I'm a free agent. I always say, I'm the ball of a caucus. I don't have to, if I disagree with what the legislatures are doing in Memphis or in Jackson or whatever, I don't have to vote for it. I mean, if my constituent wants something different, I can freely vote their conscience in my country zone. So I didn't win, but I see now why I didn't win, because I would have been trapped in with too many things that I couldn't get done if I had won that. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of which, community mobilization, that's been big for you. You're big on community. So what would you hope for your community, your own community, all the things that you've done, right? And you've gotten them from where you started, when you started politically, I'm saying, to where things are now. And I know you've done a lot of things for your community. What's your goal for your community? Are there any immediate goals that you have in mind? And certainly long-term, what do you hope to see?
Well, broadband, number one, is one of my goals, that every person in the state of Tennessee, regardless of where they are, have access to broadband. But more than that, be educated as to how to use broadband, because there's so much you can miss if you don't have broadband. And one of the things I've always fussed about in legislature is when we pass laws and they say, well, we put that online. Well, think of all the folks who can't go online. So one of my goals is to make sure that people are educated about what the state provides for them, and that they can tap into all of those resources to make them. Do you realize now that technology and the knowledge we have about financial issues and all, with a little training, everybody could be successful? Almost everybody, but a lot of people are not, because they haven't gotten the training, nor do they have the tools or the technology to get there. Think about what you can go online and find out about now without asking anybody anything. If and it's kind of like preaching. If you got to understand all the words in the text before you can preach about them, what does those words mean? You don't just say that. You got to know what those words mean, because those words is what add and broaden your thoughts and mind about the text. So if we could get people, get broadband, get people educated about it. And another one of my goals is to see the government stop and start over, and make sure that you start educating kids at an early age, rather than expecting them to read at 7th, 8th grade. Because I think the government has to take up the slack of some parents who don't teach their kids to read.
Some who can't
teach their kids,
and some who don't have an opportunity because they work 3 jobs.
Sure. So I think pre-K is so important to dwell on first. Get pre-K before you go anyplace else. Then you get a student who can excel and do well. So those are my goals. But I think one of my main goals is to make sure that I can produce about 5 Johnny Shaws. Because if I can do what I did by myself, 4 more of the guys with me could do great things. Yeah.
I get the whole concept of that. I don't know how I could handle.
I was wondering if you heard your daughter.
I understand the concept.
Did you hear her when you said that? She said,
I get that. I get that. That's what I get. That's what I get.
Rude.
Yeah, that's what I get.
Be quiet, Dr. West.
But she
kills me when she said rude.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. Do you, and you probably have a few of these, but do you have a favorite scripture or a favorite
I know what one of them is.
Yeah,
topic that
I
you
do
like?
have favorite scriptures. Yes.
Okay. I would like to know what some of those are.
Well, the most favorite scripture is Psalm 37. You fret not because of evildoers. Don't be workers against iniquity. They'll soon be cut down wither like the herb. Cut down. And I think I don't know if I shared with you. I think I did. I know I did you about that soon. I always had a problem with the soon because I'm saying, Lord, all this stuff is still happening. You telling me it's going to soon become when?
Yeah.
Lord says, when you stop trying to handle it, let me handle it. That's how soon it is.
Whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
He blessed me with that.
Soon is right now. But same thing about faith. Faith is a substance of now faith. It's a substance of thing hoped for, evidence of things not seen. Now, faith is when you get your hands off of it and believe God can do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me like that?
No, but the thing of it is,
rude.
The thing of it is, we read it and hear it and sometimes accept it, but still don't do it.
Can't implement it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can say that is really the hardest part for me.
Yeah. And then
remember to do it every single day.
Yeah. And then I like that one in the Proverbs, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, because it's all right here, whatever you're thinking, So I got some favorite scriptures, but it's just trust in God rather than trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest lessons I think I've learned this year is I don't know what I'm doing. And I need to stop trying to do it my way.
But it's one thing you do know, what you want. And you always are trying to accomplish what you want out of life.
Right.
But sometime to get there, God has to condition you.
Yeah.
It's like everybody say, I wished I could win the lottery, but think of the folks who would be the biggest detriment in their life if they won $1 million. Because they don't know how to handle it. So God works that when you want something from God, you got to be prepared to handle it when you get it.
Yeah.
For God to give it to you, because they're not going to give you something to make you fail.
Right.
We pick and choose failure. God don't fail us. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What have you?
That's one of the things we do. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, what have you enjoyed the most about life? First as a person, then as a pastor, and then in the political arena. What have you enjoyed the most?
Well, it has a fun part to it. Just enjoying life, meeting people, meeting new people, learning new things.
Having me. Like having me.
Yeah, well, you don't count.
He was getting there. He saved the best for last.
But I think one of the things that I learned early in life too, God don't mind us being us. He don't mind you being you.
Human being.
Human being. You can laugh and you can have fun in a nice, proper way. I mean, you don't have to be so tight and so stuck up that you can't laugh and talk to people and learn things. So, I mean, I've just enjoyed life is a gift from God.
Yeah.
Life is a gift from God. And if you don't enjoy it, it ain't nobody's fault. Can't nobody keep you from enjoying your life but you.
Yeah, I'll never live.
Yeah. Nobody. Now they can try, and if you fall for it, trust me, anytime you fall for what people throw at you, they can mess you up.
The buy-in.
Yeah.
So you just do something totally different. And I tell you, when people are trying to mess you up and you totally ignore it, it drives them crazy. They don't know what to think. This ain't working. They be saying, this ain't working. What I want to do?
You know what? Because now That is so true, because what I have learned, and I'm serious about this, and all the joking aside, you know, when somebody wants to be chaotic and messy and what's the word? You know, have some kind of confusion going, when that's what they thrive on.
Yeah.
And you don't buy into that, it seems that's when they come to become the most infuriated, right? Because they don't have anything to go on. Right. They need some fuel. They need somebody adding some fuel.
Here's the best analogy. You put the gas in the car, but the hand says it's out of gas. That's the best analogy there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they get infuriated about it because they know they're supposed to be able to do you that way, and you ain't buying into it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So what part of your life came with any of those arenas that I just mentioned, came with the most challenges?
I think probably equally, just life itself in general. Again, maybe I can answer it this way. A lot of days I get up and I don't want to go, and something would say to me, wait a minute, you walk the streets and you knocked on doors and you beg for this job, and then you're not going to do it. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, Lord. Let me just put my clothes on.
Get out of here.
Yeah, because I asked people, I said, if you let me, and same thing about pastorship or whatever else, you treat people, I realize I don't pastor every member in the St. John Church. I probably have got as high percentage as any pastor, but I probably don't. But what I don't ever do is treat them differently. Whether they are devoted givers and love to pastor and all of that, or whether they never speak to me when they need pastoralship, I'm there for them.
Here's my, you were going to add something?
I was, real quick. One thing that you have yet to do that you still want to do, because it seems like you've done everything, but is there one thing you haven't yet done that you would like to do?
That is a good question. I don't think I ever think about that. I'm
you live life every day.
I'm just so hung up on the idea that every day is just a good day. I don't know if I look forward to anything being any better tomorrow. Wow. It's just, I hear people say, man, what's good about it? My God, what's good? I don't deserve it. Yeah, and I always correct people and say, I'm doing better than I said, no, you deserve this. Jesus died for you to have this, brother. You deserve it. Don't you go around putting Jesus down. You deserve what you get, because it's life. It's just life. I just enjoy life.
So my last question is, I want you to speak to me as if there's nobody listening. And I want you to tell me what you would want me.
Oh, Lord.
Want you
to keep in the forefront as I continue my journey.
Nobody's listening.
Nobody's listening. It's just you and I.
Empty your garbage can first. That's your mind. Get all that junk that don't need to be in there. Empty it. You empty it some days you don't. Empty it every day. Empty the garbage can. And just take on the attitude that what God has for me is for me. And even if I don't accept it, He can't give that to nobody else. Wow. That's what I would tell you. That's what I tell both of them.
That's, I'm going to
read the Bible. Now, I know you both are not where I am, and I know you all of the above, but the Bible is just such a good book to read for wisdom.
Yeah.
And even before you get to the point where you just say, God, I love you so much, I do everything you say, that's what gets you there. You just keep reading it and keep receiving it. And sometimes it's going to tell you some things that you don't like.
Yeah.
But do them anyway. And you said a while ago, practicing makes perfect. Yeah, that's how you get better each day. Just keep practicing. Yeah. And that ain't easy now. I'm gonna leave this
No.
conversation by telling y'all that ain't easy. All we've been sitting here talking about, I don't want people to think this is like just, just throwing it over in the corner and forgetting it. No, no, no. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. Some days you pick up the wrong wrench. You just have to put it down to pick up the right one.
Get the right one.
Until you get in the habit of picking up the right one. Yeah.
Well, because we can never go over without getting in trouble.
No, you can't go over.
We go ahead and end this and ask.
And we already gone over. I'm charging
No,
y'all.
we have not.
We have, you sure?
We are sure. You stop talking.
Timekeeper. What about timekeeper?
We're on the way.
Yeah.
And we're just going to stop here and thank everybody for being here with us again. And we're going to ask you to come back and talk to us again. We know you will, because we're always on the gospel time. So we thank you and we love you. We will talk to you guys next week, next Saturday, same chat channel, same chat time, right here on 94.7 FM.
Bye-bye.